schools, secondary schools, colleges, universities to this Friday. And all that is an effort by government. These have been preemptive measures by government to ensure that we keep the population safe. We have another press briefing today, and now I would like to introduce Honorable Chinusia to give us what is the latest as far as the coronavirus is concerned. Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Honorable Doris Leah. I recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Honorable Doris Leah, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, and the Office of the Vice President. I recognize the World Health Organization Country Representative, Dr. Akaita, and all the UN family. I recognize the UN coordinator, and all the UN agency heads, the WHO and the UNICEF heads. I recognize the UN country coordinator. I recognize the CDC country director, Simon, and I do recognize other cooperative partners, colleagues from the press, and distinguished delegates. This morning, Wednesday, 18th March 2020, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia and our Honorable Vice President, Honorable Inongo Wina, were updated on the status of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, globally and in Zambia. And I am now a bearer of a message from His Excellency the Republican President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, to inform the nation that Zambia has confirmed its first 2 cases of COVID-19 virus. The patients are a Zambian couple that traveled to France on a 10-day holiday with their 2 children. They came back on Sunday and they passed through our international airport, and because of our alert surveillance system, the travel history did pick that they passed through a country where COVID-19 cases were on the rise. For this reason, both the father, the mother, and their 2 children were placed under self-quarantine. 24 hours later, our alert surveillance officers made a follow-up to the couple, and they found them observing the self-quarantine rules, and they did find out that one of the members of the family did develop a fever and a flu. They conducted tests, and the test results were released this morning, and the mother, the father, have laboratory confirmed COVID-19. These parents and the 2 children, like I alluded to earlier, traveled to France on a 10-day holiday and returned back to Zambia on March the 15th, 2020, amid Emirates Airlines. As we speak, the couple and the 2 children have been isolated in our designated isolation facility in Chilanda, and they're receiving appropriate treatment. I must assure the nation that only the man was asymptomatic. The wife has been asymptomatic, and as we speak, even the husband is on the mend and no longer has a flu and no longer has a fever. We must place on record our appreciation for our gallant men and women who are doing surveillance and disease intelligence at the ports of entry, the health workers who are working day and night executing disease intelligence and surveillance activities at all ports of entry, and who picked out these members, these citizens. The measures they put in place demonstrate how sensitive our surveillance system is. On the Monday that followed the self-quarantine of this couple and their 2 children, our surveillance officers did visit the family and did find that the couple, one of the members of the family had symptoms, and they did conduct the tests. And like I said earlier on, the test results are now confirmed as COVID-19 positive. I'd like to reiterate that COVID-19 infection will present with symptoms of a flu, a fever, a headache, and should the case progress, could actually present with organ failure, including renal failure and death. As we speak, 3 members of the family remain without symptoms. 3 members of the family, that is the wife and the 2 children, remain asymptomatic. The husband, who was symptomatic just a day after being admitted in the country, has also become asymptomatic. The fever has receded, the headache has receded, the flu has receded, and is on firm track to recover. And I wish to take this opportunity to acknowledge the positive response and cooperation from the Zambian public and incoming travelers in adhering to the key measures that the Ministry of Health and government in general have put in place to prevent and control COVID-19. The people that we're placing under self-quarantine are regularly calling our surveillance officers to betray the symptoms that they present with. And tests are being conducted, and these test results are coming out negative, or, as in the last 2 cases, positive. I also want to thank the various stakeholders, such as the churches, the traditional leaders, civil society, schools, and training institutions for their continued support and adherence to the guidance. We have heard and confirmed reports that the Barose Royal Establishment has postponed the Kuomboka ceremony in line with the guidance. We want to appreciate their sensitivity. We want to appreciate the Ministry of Education for putting off the launch of the STEM program, where we had more than 1,500 participants. I want to appreciate the Ministry of Education for putting off a program in Chirundu, which had a lot of participants in excess of 500. This is as it should be. We appreciate the various stakeholders that have put off important events, such as the Farmers National Union, that have put off the Agritech for 2020, and have put it to a date that will be announced in due course. Government appreciates the church that immediately after the pronouncement in the last briefing released circular to their various constituents, guiding on the importance of prevention and on the importance of preventing gatherings for a long period of time. We appreciate the church. We appreciate the traditional leaders who have worked through the village headmen to sensitize the public. Government appreciates the support from cooperating partners who continue to provide technical, financial, logistical, and material support to our national preparedness and response efforts to COVID-19. These include, but not limited to, the American government through the American CDC, the UN family and its various UN agencies, led by the World Health Organization and the UNICEF, the British government through DFID, the World Bank, the Chinese government, the Japanese government, the European Union, and many other cooperating partners, including the Swedish government. I now make a call to the public to adhere to the measures that were announced in our last press briefing. Avoid unnecessary travel to COVID-19 high-risk countries. Avoid public gatherings. These include bars, restaurants, and even places of worship. Avoid handshakes. Even when people are donating money, don't shake their hands. Ensure hygiene at personal level and at community level. Hand washing is critical. Cleaning your environment is fundamental. It is important to ensure that for those who are symptomatic and have a flu or a runny nose, they stay home. And as they cough, they create a barrier by putting their hands or a mask on the nose and the mouth to avoid droplet infections contaminating members of the public. Let us ensure that we observe these measures as outlined in Statutory Instrument 21 and 22. The media, again, I reiterate the message from my colleague from Information and Broadcasting to ensure that we report accurately and avoid reporting alerts as cases. Avoid alarming the public. And let us work together to ensure community sensitization. Communication on the COVID-19 outbreak shall be done through press conferences, followed by press statements. And in the true spirit of a multi-sectoral approach to health that His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has embraced, you will see honorable ministers from various sectors appearing on one platform in a one government approach, in a multi-sectoral approach to health, stating what government position is. Let us avoid false rumors that circulate through social media platforms and wait for official communication. Distinguished delegates, members of the press, I'd like to emphasize that the COVID-19 disease carries only 2% mortality, and most of the persons that are infected globally recover. Therefore, reporting 2 cases in Zambia out of a family that went on a holiday, 10-day holiday to France, should not cause panic. Life should go on as usual. We have put measures in place to promote prevention of human-to-human transmission. Compliance to these measures will protect the whole nation from a possible outbreak or transmission of human to human. Mortality still stands at 2%. Most cases that succumb to COVID-19 are either immunocompromised or the very elderly. As we speak, the only case that is symptomatic, that was asymptomatic, or that carried signs or symptoms and signs in Zambia, today as we speak, is asymptomatic. And put simply, he had a flu, he had a fever, he had a running nose, and he had a fever, and as we speak today, already the running nose has stopped. The high temperature has receded or stopped and is stable. That tells you what the natural progression of this disease is. Therefore, there should be no panic. Government will review measures that is put in place informed by the pandemic. And we shall continue to be in touch with the public through the press and ensure that the public is protected from the potential threat of COVID-19. Osayo pa kuti ichi chifine chile chipa abantu iyayi. Mwirati nati chichifine chikaipa ya abantu wonse iyo. Tisunge, timvese maningi, malango, yamene yakamba boma, kusamba kumanja, kunkala mumalo, opanda doti, kusunga malo yose, kopanda doti. Tulesunga nchende yose otwikenemo okwabula ifisoso angula ifintu fyakutila fileleta abantu besu kuti bakwate obubwafya bwa kifine. Mutapenge kulina kuyo. Clean your hands, wash your hands, and make sure that you maintain the environment clean. That's basic. Wash your hands, clean your environment. Anybody with a symptom, aliwonse akala na chifine na mwitu baba na mtupiyapya mwasaka msanga yala manambara mene muona pachipupa tumanifoni bazavwela batu manyumba yangu kuona kuti batenga abantu bapereka kumara ya kuti batabatandiza. Let us take advantage of the numbers that you've seen as emergency call numbers. For those people who develop a cough, dry cough, a flu, a fever, and they have a history of travel to high-risk countries, or they have been in contact with people who travel to high-risk countries, call those call numbers and we'll send our technical staff and they'll be able to transport you to appropriate places where you'll be isolated, investigated, and managed should you be positive. Together, we can fight this pandemic. If only we all observe the rules of prevention, hand hygiene, community hygiene, ensuring that we report any symptoms to public health authorities, ensuring that we support any detection so that the people who have symptoms and require isolation and management are quickly quarantined and managed. That way, Zambia will not have this pandemic spread. I emphasize, for those of you who are coming into the country as returning citizens, if you have transited through countries where the COVID-19 virus has ravaged the population, you will go immediately into 14-day quarantine. And we'll follow you up for symptoms and we'll test you. We continue to emphasize the need for us to avoid travel to high-risk countries. Non-essential travel to high-risk countries must be avoided. It is for this reason that government continues to emphasize the need for all embassies to review the visas that they are issuing to traveling passengers. It is for this reason that we will emphasize that pre-departure screening and screening for patients that have transited through countries that have been hit by COVID-19 will be intensified. It is for this reason that Zambia will intensify screening at ports of entry. It is for this reason that all aeroplanes, buses that come into Zambia will be subjected to specific measures to promote infection prevention. For those of you who are coming by road from South Africa, we have identified a place where you're going to disembark from, and you will be met by surveillance officers who will screen you, get your details, and follow up on you. We emphasize that collective action on infection prevention, on community hygiene, will prohibit or will stop human-to-human transmission. Let us all as a collective push towards that. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has pitched health security as a top priority in his health system's transformation agenda. And for this reason, he has taken this threat of the COVID-19 outbreak as a very grave one. And it is for this reason that he has ordered my colleague, the Minister of Information, who is the Chief Government Spokesperson, and myself as Minister of Health, to update the public on the measures that he has ordered. The President has been proactive, and even before we recorded cases, he ordered measures that ensured prevention. The President is watching the situation closely, and in due course will cause the release of information measured to the state of the epidemic, or the pandemic rather. I want to assure the nation that we will update you regularly on the state of the epidemic, and we will meet, as the Minister of Information said, again at 11:30 to release the information that shall be as guided by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia. I thank you.
We take, we're not supposed to stay for long time. So we take critically few questions, we take 3 at a time, one per question. So we'll start with the gentleman there, and then.
My name is Nabola Sidila from Green District. I would like to find out the age of the two patients and then where exactly they are from.
I would like government to clarify what the University of Lusaka has been exempted from closing this Friday, and will continue offering lessons to students.
Good afternoon, Honorable Ministers. My name is Vincent Mabor from Diamond TV. I'd like to find out if the full government is considering to supplement or help corporations with liquidity, considering the fact that the COVID-19 has been identified as a corporate case, if not curbed. So are there any considerations in that regard to make sure with liquidity these corporations are supplemented?
Okay, thank you. We can take some more phone group. Then,
Good afternoon. Just following up on the couple, and just want to find out what tracking mechanism did you put in place, especially for those who were probably on the same flight and those who were in contact with the couple. Okay. Yes.
Good afternoon, Honourable. I'd like to find out the age of the children and also how they're faring as well. You gave a specific update on the parents, but we don't know about the children. I'd like to know that.
okay, that's similar to the one that was asked. Okay, let me have the last one for our Honorable Secretary.
Good afternoon, Minister. My name is Krista. Now that Zambia has experienced at least 2 cases, my question is, on the part of public transport, what measures are you putting in place? Do you think that if you look at the high river, you will have over 15 people on board? Any restrictions on that?
Honorable Ministers, those are the questions.
Thank you. Okay, I'll try and address the 3 questions out of the 5. I think starting with one from, I think it was Ms. Kwangu. Obviously, we had already put in place a screening process at the airport. The minister did announce this yesterday and even on Saturday that we had already put in place, even before any cases were confirmed, a very robust screening place. And this is why people were being followed even after they have arrived at the airport, followed at home to ensure that we tested and made sure that there were no cases. So even before these cases were confirmed, there was already a very, very active process at the airport. But clearly now that these people flew in on Sunday on a particular aircraft, I believe it was Emirates on Sunday, clearly the Ministry of Health has been busy following up on all those who were passengers and disembarked in Zambia, because we have the manifest. So they've been following up since they realized that there were people who were suspect as far as coronavirus was concerned on that aircraft, and they're being followed up. I'm sure the minister will elaborate on that one. On the matter of UNILAS being exempted, I think the Ministry of Higher Education and General Education yesterday was very, very clear that all schools this Friday will close. Baby class, primary, secondary, colleges and universities. So as far as government is concerned, all schools are going to close. Corona pandemic, I think we've all seen that it has a real impact on economies everywhere, big economies, small economies. And even in Zambia, we are quite concerned. I know the Minister of Finance, I did speak with him yesterday, and he's busy putting together some information on what would be expected impact. Even before we had the confirmed cases announced today, I think people have been quite jittery, and the Minister of Health has been encouraging all of us to keep away from shopping malls, from bars, from restaurants, and now schools have closed. So it means that there will be impact on the economy in general, and even at household level. And I believe that very soon you will see the Minister of Finance come and join us here at this press conference so that he can share with you some of his thoughts. We had quite a long chat yesterday with His Excellency the President, the Minister of Finance, Health, myself and other ministers, including Her Honor the Vice President. So all these are very live issues, and I think that in due course you'll get the Minister of Finance to share with us what he predicts to be the impact on the economy and what the government can do in response. Minister.
Well, thank you so much, Honourable Minister, for that comprehensive response. And colleagues, just to add to what Honourable Doris Lee has said, for all those who may have come into contact with members of this 4-member family. We're tracking them. We're tracking them for symptoms and testing them for the virus. This is as it should be, and that's public health practice. We want to emphasize that for those colleagues who traveled with these members of one family, we will contact them. We do allow filling in of forms when you reach the airport. And that is where the history is derived from, and their contact numbers. And we will do contact tracing and make sure that we treat symptomatically all those individuals that may come into contact with the couple. Furthermore, for those who may have come into contact but did not contract the COVID-19 virus, after a 14-day period, we will reintegrate them into society. We will continue to work with airlines, the airports, to ensure that we screen thoroughly and disease intelligence and surveillance is enhanced. When we talk about the age of the children and the age of the adults, as we release information, we remain conscious of the need to be ethical in our practice of medicine, of the need to protect the privacy of the patients, and we will give out measured information relevant to the public, but not at the risk of breaching patient confidentiality or the trust that exists between practitioners of medicine and the patients. So for now, we will tell you that it's a family of 4, a mother and a father. The father became symptomatic, a mother who remains symptomatic, a father who is no longer symptomatic. The 2 children remain well, and that we have moved them to the isolation facility in line with this. Let me emphasize this, colleagues. When I say asymptomatic, mwewa kwasu wakumawa tikuti opanda materi, opanda mutu, kuvawa, opanda chifine, opanda kudandaula, opanda visibizo matenda, mutu chifine, ndi asymptomatic, mukwasu, yes. None is related to Tiva. And I was saying, if you ever want to know one, you will play each minute and we will look up. You have to say, you might stop it if you should. Kuina, mtu wakisa, kuina, mwili unapia, kuina. Those are the people who are calling asymptomatic. They have no signs. Okay. When Dr. Roger Smalley hears me talking about signs as opposed to symptoms, he wants to start, reminding me of what the theory is. Excuse me. I'm talking about symptoms relating to what the patient talks about, and signs relating to what you adduce as a practitioner. And for now, I'm addressing the public. And so, please, Dr. Roger Smalley. So I'm emphasizing here that the public must know that there are people who will be incubating as they come in, and there will be no fever as we screen at the airport. But because they're from high-risk countries, or they transit through high-risk countries, our surveillance system is alert to pick them out, to follow them on. The fact that we picked out these 2 cases shows how alert the system is. And for those of you who want to assess Zambia's response, we put in measures through the authority of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa. On a Friday, way before we recorded the first case, he ordered measures to be put in place, including closure of schools. That shows how concerned the Republican president has been and how he's been closely following up this. And even as the epidemic or the pandemic evolves, he will be giving further instructions. Today, as we speak, we don't want no panic. No one should panic. The majority of patients who present with COVID-19 recover. Only 2% die. The majority recover. The majority just present with a common flu and a fever, a headache, and within a few days they recover. So no one should panic.
News on the go with Diamond TV, powered by MTN.
Woi, lelo tikomo ya tiboni zona.
Woi, nisha kankamais.
Nona njala yankala pa hiking. Mongali kata tizeo.
Nantaulo samba kumanja kulibe.
Hygienic Police.
Imwe. Contravening Cap 7 of hygiene laws. Mkudia sasamba kumanja. Je hygiene ya branch. Bad hygiene malpractice. Apa no diarrhea.